Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you all are doing well. I am Dhaatrik Chowdhury. Welcome to my space, my YouTube channel. In this video, we'll be learning about a new concept that is point mass. The parts that we'll be covering today are like what is a point mass or what is a point? Does point mass, point particle or point charge even exist? If not, then why we're studying like point mass, point particles? So these are the three parts that we'll be covering today. First, let us understand that what is a point. See, point is something that is dimensionless. Dimensionless means it has no dimension. No dimension, like what are the dimensions? The dimensions are like length, width and the height, right? So point has no length, no width, and no height. That's the reason that it is considered as a dimensionless thing or something, anything. Okay. So, for example, this we know as a point, right? Now, I would love to disappoint you with the fact that point mass in our daily life or real life never exists. There is nothing called point mass. Just imagine that this much thing, how can this much thing can have like 1000 kilos of weight? That's a mass, right? How can this even have a 1 kilogram of weight? Or 1 kilogram of mass? 1 kg of mass. Is this even possible? No, it's not possible. Right? So, point mass don't exist. That means practically or experimentally, we cannot define point mass with our daily life or real life examples. So, physically it's not possible. In day-to-day life, in real life, point mass is not possible. A point that has a mass. This much thing has a mass. Like, I have drawn this much, this is not even a point. So how can even smaller than that something can have a mass? That's not possible, right? So point mass never exist. But point mass exists only theoretically. Point mass exists only theoretically. Whenever we are doing some kind of calculations in physics, in maths or in chemistry, there exists point mass. Like point mass is nothing real. Point mass is a kind of approximation and assumption. Now let us draw something to understand the point mass better. So let us do some time travel kind of thing. Okay. And let's go to class 1 and imagine a house like this. Okay, that's how we used to draw houses, right? So this is a house. Let us say a tree which has a length. Okay, now let us consider a car. I'm not drawing the car, and there's a point. Let us say a square or rhombus and a circle, imperfect one, which is not a perfect circle. Okay, let us consider this 6 diagrams, right? Can all of them be considered as a point or a point mass? Just imagine that whenever we are looking at these things from a distance, let us say that you were traveling in a plane, in an aeroplane, right? And you were watching a house from the window of the aeroplane. What you will see? This point like things, right? If you are watching this tree from a distance like 10 kilometers, what you will see? A point Now you are watching a car. You are observing a car from a distance of like 10 to 15 kilometers or 20 kilometers. What you will see? A point. And if you are observing this, the square or the circle, from a distance of like 500 meters or 1 kilometer, what you will see? Or 500 meter will be enough. What you will see? It will also look like a point. That means that these all can be considered as a point when looked or when observed from a certain distance. But does that mean that the mass has changed? Like the mass of the car will be the same. Like whether you are standing beside the car or you are watching it, you are observing it from a distance of like 10 kilometers, the mass of the car will be same. Right? That means then whenever you are looking this thing or you are observing this from a distance, all of them can be considered as a point. The mass of the house will be, let us say, m1. The mass of the tree will be, let us say, m2. The mass of this will be m3. The mass will not change. That thing is originally a house or a tree or a car. That means if we are looking from a distance, then also it is a car only. It might appear as a point, but the mass of that point is of m1, m2 or m3. Right? This is what point mass is. In theory, we can consider everybody as a point mass. For example, we can say that when you are in a road at night, when you look at the sky, you see stars. Stars appear in the form of a point. Does that mean that a star is distinct, like this much? No. Star is much bigger than the earth. It might be bigger than the size of the sun also. But why is it appearing like a dot or like a point? Because of the distance of separation between the object, that is the object, and the observer. That's the reason that the stars appear as a point or a dot. I hope you guys understood this much. Now let us come to the part that why we use the concept of point mass or point particle. See, whenever we are doing some kind of calculations in physics or in math or in chemistry, it is easy to consider a whole body as a point. Why? Like if you are calculating some kind of motion or anything, we don't need the whole shape of the body, right? What we need? The mass of the body. In that way, we are like considering the whole body as a mass. For let us say I'll be calculating about motion of the car. The car is this one. It's moving to this position. See, for every problem, how can I draw cars? That will be a wastage of time, right? So instead, what we can do, a point like we are observing from a certain distance, a point which is a car, let us say the mass is m, which is a car of mass m is moving from this to this position. Let us say this is A and this is B. So we can do the calculations in this way in a much easier form, right? So we consider the point mass thing, or the whole point mass, point charge and everything. We can say this whole thing in a single line, like point mass has to be considered in some context or some situation where distance is involved or where there is a distance. If there is a distance, then we can say that it might appear as a point, right? So this is all about today's lecture, and in the next video we'll be talking about something for class 12 maybe. And till then, take care, keep smiling, and Tata.